See, you gonna set the world on fire and spark up some bullshit.
I'm just saying, nobody's ever cared about men's feelings. Keep the lady happy. You are the lady of the show. Queen TM.
I mean, I am a queen and you are a king. So that leads perfectly into the subject matter, boundaries. So you ready to start the show?
Yeah, I'm always ready. I'm always ready.
Okay.
What have you done?
So today we are discussing boundaries. Do we want to keep
Yeah.
this? I think I want to keep this specific to relationships. Because to open
Okay.
up the world of boundaries to encompass all things, we are not going to get through in 30 to 45 minutes. So let's just talk specifically about relationships. How
Boundaries.
important are boundaries to you?
Uh, very in the sense that like you gotta have like standards, and you gotta set expectations on what you expect. And that's the thing to me. I think you set boundaries. They don't have to be hard lines that you draw in the sand. I think they should be expressed that way. You don't express boundaries with wiggle room, because I don't think even adults don't grow out of that thing that kids do. People going to test your boundaries, so you don't set them with like I might be alright with this, but I kind of don't want it to happen. No, they got to be set as like hard fast rules. But we've all been in situations where we've bent a rule, where we've allowed something we didn't expect to allow, or we understood a situation. But I think clearly expressing what your boundaries are, even if at some point you're gonna have to, you know,
Tweak it a
back
bit.
off of it a little bit, tweak it a bit. Yeah, I think you anytime the more you can communicate what it is you expect and what it is you want and what it is you're gonna give and what it is you want to be given, like that sets the stage for a successful relationship. When you enter in like it's a free for all, then you can get mad, but you probably shouldn't get mad later on when shit go left.
Do you establish boundaries in your relationships?
I'm working on that. I think I do what a lot of people do is it is very difficult for us to understand that somebody else sees the world differently. That somebody else's morality and sense of right and wrong may not be the same as your own. And so you walk into things expecting people to be you, and they're not. And so I have to get better at saying, um, you know, because this person didn't do this for the reasons that I would have done it. So if I want this not to be done, or if I want, somebody to understand how the way I'm going to interpret this action, if you do it, then I need to express that up front. But a lot of times things happen and then I put my morality on you. And I said, well, if I did that, it would have been for this reason. So that's why you did it. And I'm not God. I don't have the ability to see what's in your heart and mind and determine what your motivations are. I can either accept what it is that you tell me, or I can, like I said, draw that line in the sand and tell you what my boundary is from day one. I think you got to do that. I'm trying to get better at that.
What is one of your boundaries in a relationship with your significant other?
Stay away from my booty. Don't tell
Oh
what
my.
you don't need to be behind me at all ever for any reason. I don't understand what you're doing. I mean, I do enjoy being a little spoon every once in a while. It's cool, but other than that, stay from behind me.
Okay. So that's clearly not what I was expecting. So how about another boundary?
Okay, you wanted a serious answer.
I believe you were
I mean,
very
on
serious.
I am dead ass serious, but but I guess on the just stay on the topic of the show. Yeah, like fidelity, you know, means everything to me. Like you got to be a commitment is a commitment. If I say I'm with you, I'm with you, and I expect the same. Uh, I don't. I don't even like. I don't even like you allowing another person to think that they, have a piece of you that's supposed to belong to me. I don't even like, let's not even play that game. I don't even want another person to have the delusion in their mind that they have access to a piece of you that's supposed to be mine. So I'm very territorial when it comes to that. What's
Okay.
mine is mine. I don't share.
That's perfectly understandable. I agree 1,000,000%. So you sent me a video a week
I
ago
did.
or however long ago, for a subject for this podcast. And in it, the woman is saying that she has matured. She probably looks, she's in her 50s, maybe 60s. And she said that she has matured to the point in her life from being a young girl who said, I could never stay with a man who cheated on me, to now being the woman where cheating is not necessarily a deal breaker for her because she has matured and understands that we are human beings and things happen. Now, I have been asking the questions. Oh, but I'm going to take this one first because I take issue with the thought process that because you've gotten older or you've somehow matured, you understand better now that cheating is okay or it's acceptable or it happens and it should be forgiven. This, if that is her mentality for her, perfect. But I don't actually see that as maturing. I see that as settling. I see it as you feeling
Exactly.
like I'm in my 50s or my 60s, my options, my choices, my viability. I mean, my opportunities to have a man want me at this later stage in life, I can't be as picky. That's how I see that. It's not about her being mature. It's about her being willing to stay with someone who thinks it's okay to cheat on her. No, thank you. For me, cheating is I, it's a deal breaker. It's the deal breaker. There are two deal breakers for me: putting your hands on me in a violent fashion. So you cannot physically abuse me or mentally or emotionally for that. Abuse and cheating on me. I am the type of woman who fundamentally could not get over that because every time you were out of my sight, I would think you were doing it again. It's a boundary that you can't cross for me.
Trust is extremely important to me. And I trust you until you give me a reason not
Mm.
to. But once you give me that reason not to, it's going to take an act of God to get us back to where we were, if that's even possible. So I'm with you on that. And I think the mistake, because everybody wants to be so progressive and wants to be open to all these new ideas and new definitions of what a relationship is, or what is monogamy, or what is a commitment mean. It's like, no, no, no. Some things are what they are, and definition means something. Like, we need to have things mean something again. I think it's very dangerous for her in that situation. Like, I get some of what she's trying to say, that people make mistakes and stuff like that, and you should be able to forgive a person, and possibly, depending on the situation. Um, I've absolutely been in a relationship where somebody cheated on me and I forgave it. Uh, would I do it again? I don't know. I'd like to say hell no, I won't, but I can't say for a fact that that's true. But I know I'm not entering into a relationship telling the person that I'm the type that forgives. You stepping out. I think that just opens the door for it. I'm telling you I don't have a standard, or I'm telling you that you get a pass or something. Then most people are going to test that boundary, and so you don't do that. Yeah, I do think, but and again, I disagree with the whole notion of cheating being like a mistake or an accident or
Exactly.
something that happened. Like, there is so much that leads up to a person cheat. Like, you have so many opportunities to turn around and to not make that mistake. That if you follow through, if you stayed in this situation long enough for
Yes.
something bad to happen, then you wanted something to happen. And that's is not a lot of coming back from that for me. I can't imagine a scenario where someone cheats and I'm like, oh, it was a mistake. No, it was a choice.
Yes.
That's what it was.
Absolutely.
And if you chose that, then it's consequence.
Absolutely. The way I think about it from a standpoint is you had to see this person, realize your attraction, start a conversation, get close enough for something to happen, maybe leave the club or the store, the laundromat or gas station or wherever you met to go someplace private with this person, um, to kiss, to touch, to share space, to get undressed or allow him to undress part ways and you as well, and then let him into you. And I'm pretty sure I'm missing some steps in between there if we're going to be technical. You have got to be out of your mind if you think you're going to explain or describe that to me as a mistake, or his penis just fell inside of you. This is it's insanity, and I think it's insulting to the person's intelligence when you frame it that way. I would respect a person more if he came and he said, "You and I were fighting. I didn't know if I still wanted to be with you. I ran into my ex. We've always had a fun time. In most cases, there's alcohol involved for most people, and it just happened." But in that situation, for things to be salvageable, we probably, first of all, like I can't see a world where someone cheats on me and I stay. I cannot. But I'll never say never, because life has a way of testing and bringing some stuff to you, and you just be like, damn, didn't see this coming. And I'm not trying to enter into that scenario at all. But I think if you came to me the moment that you woke up after that, or the moment that it happened, and you came and you say, yo, we need to talk, and you give me every single detail, I don't want you to leave anything out. I think that would be the only way you would stand it. I would still need time apart. I'm not one of the girls who's going to cheat back, but I would need my space to really evaluate my part in that. Because I have to say, if I'm with a guy and he gets so mad at me that he thinks he doesn't want to be with me anymore, that he lets his guard down to go be with another woman, oh, I played a part in getting him to that headspace where he was vulnerable for this female. Not I made him cheat, but I made him not believe in us anymore with something that I did or something that I said. And if I can evaluate that and find something I did egregious enough to have been a participant in leading up to that vulnerability, which led to that situation, maybe. Again, I still don't see it happening. I just don't. But that would be the only way I would see it happening, where I would forgive you for that indiscretion, because you were inside another woman. And I just don't know how to let that go.
And I'm not. And again, I'm 100% against. I'm not taking any responsibility for you cheating on me. I don't care. I don't care what I did, who I was, how absent I was, how I wasn't present. I ain't tell you was pretty. I really don't care what led up to it. At the end of the day, you could always just leave. If I'm that bad, if you're not happy here, don't be with me. But don't pretend to be with me and then go out and do something else. Like that's in the clip, she's talking about how, forgiving a person that cheats, like that's a part of love. Like a part of love is not cheating. A part of love is you being important enough to me that even when I'm angry with you, even when I'm not exactly happy with you, there are things I would never do to you. There are lines I won't cross because I love you. Um, for me, it's important. And when I'm in a relationship, if we fighting, I need to talk to you before you go to sleep. Or if I'm gonna kiss you before I get out the car, I need you to know that even when I don't like you, I love you. Even when I'm mad at you, I love you. Like, even when I'm pissed off, I love you. You are mine, I am yours, because that's what commitment is. And so, yeah, this whole idea that it is to me the most asinine thing you could possibly do to enter a situation telling a person that cheating is not a deal breaker for you. Like you are just inviting it. You just asking for it at that point.
Because they're going to throw it back. When it happens, they're going to say, but you said it wasn't a deal breaker. It's almost like they have that forever in the back of their minds for when and if that situation occurs. So, yeah, I think you have to have hard set boundaries. And even if you waver a little bit and think, oh, there's just one scenario where I might not, you don't tell them that. You make it seem to them
Right.
like 100%. If you cheat on me, I'm out.
I'm out.
So yeah, I think another boundary for me is strength of a will. Or
Okay.
I need a man to promise me that he will never let me run all over him.
Wow.
That boundary, I need him to set that boundary. And with my age, I am 43 now. I'm not as bad as I was in my 20s, but I come from a long line of women who don't know how to talk to men, who don't know how to talk to people in general, to be honest. And there are changes I had to choose to make. I had to choose that I didn't want to continue down that single for the rest of your lives, never married type of lifestyle that I come from. So for me, it's I talk to men. I say I'm very strong willed. I'm a fire sign. I'm a Sagittarius. I know some people don't believe in that. I'm true to form. I'm a Sagittarius. I do have a very bad temper. Again, I shouldn't say that anymore because I don't think my temper is as bad as it used to be either. But I'm a work in progress. I respect you enough to say there might be times where I forget our roles. There might be times where I forget that I don't forget that I love and I respect you. I just may not have that in the forefront of my mind when I'm telling you about yourself at this particular time. And I need you to understand that I'm not looking for you to let me behave that way. I'm not looking for you to let me get away with it. I don't need you to put your hands on me or yell or scream at me, but I need you and your masculine energy, because being masculine is one of the greatest things on the planet, despite what they are, trying to peddle out here now in the world. To keep to let me know you've crossed that line. Set that boundary and let me know when I've stepped over that line. And it's my job, since I'm asking you to set this boundary, to recognize and realize when you say that and back it up.
Yeah, that's an interesting one for me because I definitely was thinking that one of my boundaries is respect. Um, I heard a long time ago that like what men value more than I think most women think like sex is like number one on our list of priorities, and it's high up there. It's way up there. But
Stay towards your mic. Stop turning your face away from your mic.
I think men value respect more than they do sex, and a lot of times when a man cheats, it is because that woman made him feel like more of a man than the woman that he's supposed to be committed to, and she probably did that with the amount of respect. So yeah, I would say like respect is a boundary for me. But then when we're listening to you talk, like I think for me, I'm trying to figure out how I would reconcile that. If I had somebody come to me and say, "Hey, I need you to not let me do these kind of things and let me know," because most of the time in a situation where I feel like I'm being consistently disrespected, um, I would have it would be that would definitely be a show of love that I stayed around to try to help clarify or fix the situation.
Well, it's not
Because
about disrespect. It's not about constantly and consistently being disrespectful. It's I have a bit of a temper. I have a bit of an attitude. If you don't like the way I say something to you, tell me. That's my thing. You have too many men who will deal with women who may not be the strongest at how, like, she may have been with a dude and their dynamic was completely different. She wants to be a different person, and she might be that the version of herself that you love completely 90% of the time. There's still a 10% chance that sometimes when she's just having a really bad day or somebody has pissed her off and you're the one that walks in the door behind that, where the rage has to go somewhere. It's those moments when she wants you to love her enough to say, I'm going to tell you this one time. Don't talk to me like that. Or however you do it. Or just look at her and then explain to her, I understand that you're upset, but we're not doing this. It's not a thing where it shouldn't be super consistent all the time. And it's not necessarily her being disrespectful to you. Sometimes it can be her not talking to you at all, and you don't like that. Okay, so you mad at the rest of the world. Now I come home and I can't get a kiss, a hi, a how was your day, a hug, nothing. It doesn't. It can come in various forms, but I don't need a man to handle me. I'm not saying that I want a man that's gonna have to completely train and tame me, because for the most part, I've fixed what I need to fix. But let's just say you got people who come from two different worlds. You got a city girl who's hood and has grown up out of that, but you know what they say, you can take the girl out the city, but you never take the city out of the girl. And you have a dude who's never lived that life at all and is really like laid back and chill and more introspective and an introvert compared to her. What is it, ambivert, maybe even more extrovert? Who knows? They just, the languages, the mannerisms, the things between them are going to be different. She may think she's being perfectly calm because she knows her rage level. She could be at a 2 and her 2 could look like 100 to him. This is the dynamic where you have to use the fact that you love this person and find the common ground, find that common ground and understand each other. So now she has to get to know him and his boundaries and his tolerances, which might be like, again, he may not be able to take her level 1 and she might live on level 7. so so again, but if they were allowed to fall for each other, fall in love for each other, and they love each other, then there's something there that should be able to help her change and him be able to understand who she is and help her to evolve. I think another boundary of mine is definitely patience. I have zero patience. I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. But the number one area where I have the most patience, the number two areas, I am very patient, more patient now in my older age, with my kids as a mom, but I'm also patient in my relationships for the most part. I still have my triggers. But I think that
Yeah.
in order to love someone truly and have a successful relationship, you have to have a level of patience with them, especially during that learning curve, like the beginning of a relationship.
So let me ask you this, because this is like the difficulty that I see in some of that. So like you said, like you want him to say, in the middle of that, she taking out the bad day on him, or she just is approaching him the way, because she's in that negative mindset and she's approaching him in that energy. Maybe not even taking it out on him, but she's just in that space. So she's approaching him with that energy. And he says something like, you got, you got one time. I'm gonna tell you this one time. Don't ever talk to me like that. And then she's in that space, so she comes back with, "Don't tell me what to do." So now I've told you I ain't gonna tell you this one time, and you battle back. So if I'm respecting the boundary that I set, that I ain't telling you this again, I'm supposed to just walk away.
Well, you don't necessarily have to say that. If this is your girl, you should know how to talk to her when she's in that state. And again, there has to be learning done in this. It shouldn't take you 10 times of this exact same scenario with her. It could be different things and she's just not maybe understanding how they connect for you. And it's just another part of it, like I said, dating someone and getting to know someone who may not see the world like you do, as you were talking about in a previous episode. I think if a person is overstepping your boundary too often for you, or you can't reel them back in once you make it known that this is one of the things they're not supposed to be doing, then you should walk away. Don't stay. Don't stay with someone if you guys cannot find that common ground quick enough for you. Again, I don't think it's our job to raise not at our age. We're in our early 40s. We shouldn't be raising anyone. And if there are things about a person that fundamentally don't work for you, that they don't want to change, or you speak a language that they don't understand and vice versa, like you see things that you just can't tolerate and those things are normal for them, maybe you guys shouldn't be together. And that's okay. That's perfectly okay. I am not a fan of staying with someone, whether you're in love with them or whether you love them, or, both or whatever, if you can't have peace with them. Leave.
Let me ask you this, because this is interesting to me. I just thought about this as you were talking. Like, when I'm sitting here trying to think of what my boundaries are, they're either too broad to me, 'cause they encompass everything. Like, I can't, after the stay committed, be loyal, no cheating, and the respect thing. I couldn't think of what anything else would be, and that again could either be because those two things to me just encompass so many things, or the other idea that crossed my mind is that I know for me, and I think this is the case for a lot of men. When you hear things like happy wife, happy life, when you see like for men in relationships, we're constantly doing like a weigh in the scales, and we're with a woman, and if she brings XYZ to the table, she's my piece when I need her the majority of the time. I'm sexually fulfilled. um, I feel like a man around her. I feel loved, I feel appreciated. then we say, I have those things. And then when these other things happen, there may be things that cross boundaries or that we're not happy with or we don't like. We just tend to say, is it worse? Is whatever this negative thing worse than the positives over here? It's not. All right, whatever. I'll just deal with it. And then we're very silent about it. Usually, the only time we say something about it is when we're being talked to about what it is we do wrong, and then we're like, "Girl, if you only knew how many times during the day I'm sitting here forgiving you for something you didn't even know you did." But like I wonder about that. Like, I think women have more boundaries than men do because we just been kind of taught to like accept a certain amount of stuff. Like we got to do this. We doing this weighing thing all the time. Is whatever she did or however she's acting right now, is this enough to outweigh the good that I get from her? If it
But
isn't,
why?
then
Why do you do that? If she does so many things in a day that you cannot stand or that you don't like or you don't want to deal with, and she doesn't even know it, maybe you're not compatible. And that's
again, I
okay.
think
It's perfectly okay. But this silence thing that men do, sitting back and not saying anything because you've been taught to do that, you got to unteach yourself that. Either you sit down and have a conversation with her and say, matter of fact, write it down. Sit down and have a conversation and say, these are in this week, these are the things that you said, that you did, that you sang out loud, that you rolled your eyes, whatever. These are all the things that you did that bothered me. And these are the boundaries that they cross for me. And if you show up to her in a week and you got a list of 30, I hope she leaves you. And I'm not saying you specifically, I'm just saying, I hope she goes, you know what? That's fundamentally the person that I am in a week. And none of it works for you. You have your boundaries, which I consider to be nitpicking and just now you just want to bitch about everything. And I'm not going to change every single thing about me to cater to or appease you. So if in a week or even in a 24-hour period, you can come up with 10 things that I've done, we are not a match. And that's okay. We don't have to be enemies. We don't have to, make it this toxic thing. But there has to be some level of maybe you need to look in the mirror and just realize that all you do is bitch about everything. Or maybe you need to
right.
look in the mirror and realize that what's triggering you is the fact that you haven't handled all of your baggage from previous relationships and you just have to nitpick about everything. Or you know what? There are some men out here who stay single for so long that they get used to being by themselves for so long that a lot of things annoy them because they haven't been around them in a while. That's something you have to resolve within yourself. And you have to think about if it's realistic what you're asking of her. And if you think a woman who would never do any of these things actually exists. If so, leave.
I'm glad you said all of those things because I think those are the things that women do not do. I think a lot of the times with the stuff that we get confronted with, if you ask most men in a relationship, they will tell you it feels like I'm always doing something wrong. It feels like I'm always apologizing. It feels like I'm always like it feels like we are getting, and that's the frustration for us because I think one we don't do it because we've not been taught to expect that all of these things, that all of these boxes are going to get checked from us. We've been taught that we're going to have to accept a certain level of stuff that we don't like if we want to be with a woman. Like nobody's ever going to be everything. Nobody's ever not going to annoy you, or nobody's ever not going to um, do things that you don't like. So again, happy wife, happy life. You're going to have to sacrifice some things to have this woman. I think that's something that we've been taught. The other thing that we've been taught by being in relationships is that most women cannot take being told that they did something wrong or that the man doesn't like. That it's uncomfortable for them. They feel attacked. They feel hurt. And you usually end up, and this is one of the most infuriating things that can happen to a person when you feel like you've been wronged, that you bring your wrong to somebody. It bothers them so much that they did something wrong that now you are making them feel better about feeling bad about doing something to you. Like you never get around to addressing that something was done to you and you're upset and you're hurt by it. You're now consoling the person who did it to you because they are so upset that you're upset with them. And so, when that happens to you enough times in a relationship, you just stop bringing it up and you
No,
just start expecting
but
I
that's
think
the
because what
mistake,
you're saying,
though. That's the
but that
mistake.
because what you're saying about like figuring out if a person like this really exists, do women do that? Do they look? I got this man who takes care of me, pays the bills. Our physical relationship is good. He's respectful to me. I know he loves me. When they see that sock on the floor, do they say to themselves, "There's a man who does all these things and never leaves a sock on the floor exist"? Do they do that mental calculation? I don't think they do. I think in the moment that sock on the floor is the most important thing in the world to them, and we're going to have this conversation about it right now because I need to do it. And so it's just a difference. Like we don't get that same space to operate like that.
Then you
Because
have
if
to
we
bring
did
up
that,
that conversation the same way you're bringing this conversation up to me. You have to talk to her and you have to say, okay, let's just say you bring something to her and she has a bad reaction to it, and you end up consoling her because she can't handle the fact that you're upset with her. Once she's calm again, you have to go, okay, now it's time for part two of that conversation. Because what I don't want to do is fall in this rut, babe, of I tell you you did something, you have a meltdown, I console you, my issue never gets addressed. If you can't find a woman, or if this woman can't find a way to emotionally mature to a place where she can say, okay, I gotta take a self look, I gotta take a look in the mirror at myself and maybe look at this list of things that he's giving me and see where I'm making this same mistake and see if I want to change, if she wants to change. And yes, as women, we need to do that. I think as human beings, we forget how much people do for us. I don't think it's just a woman thing. I don't think it's just a man thing. I think sometimes we're irritated that day, or we've asked this man to not throw his clothes on the floor 100 times in a month, and he's still doing it. And so sometimes it's like, okay, it's not just about um the fact that this man is good to me and he respects me and he pays the bills, he takes care. First of all, if he's doing all of that, she should be picking up the goddamn socks. I don't even understand why that would be the conversation that we're having. As I'm just rattling this list off, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. But I need something more important. Like maybe there's a leak on the roof and he knows how to fix it. He's been promising for a month or two, and now the rainy season's here. Something more important for this example. Sometimes it's not just, okay, you do these 10 things. So when you don't do these five, because you do these 10, I got to give up on these five. If they're important enough and they're fundamental to the relationship, you have to bring those up and say, look, you do all these things. And you know what? That's another part. Praise the people for what they do for you. Tell them how much you love when they open doors for you, or how much you love when, you know, I don't know, maybe you got a muscle spasm in your back and they cater to you when you're dealing with that. Let them know how much you love when they care for you, so that when you bring up bad stuff, that's not all they hear. And that's specific to women, but also to men. When you're in relationships with people, you have to praise them when they're doing the things that you love and that you like and that you want and you desire. And then that also softens the blow. Maybe the person doesn't have such a bad reaction when you say, you know what? If you've told them 100 times in 2 weeks all the things you love, I'm not talking about giving them a cookie or patting them on the back. I just mean when somebody touches you, damn, I've never had somebody care about me like this before. I've never had somebody ask me about me before or treat me this way before. Make sure you tell them that. We love to tell people the bad and often forget the good. And I think it helps you when you tell them that too, because now you're remembering too the next time you get mad at them. Okay. I just got through telling him yesterday how much I love da 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 da. So when I bring this to him today, I'm going to say it with some sense and some sensibility. I'm going to be calmer. I'm going to be respectful. I think there's so much that we can work on in these conversations on both sides. And it's easy if we just, I don't know, walk and talk in love as much as we can. It's not always going to work. It's not always going to happen, but you're right. Women do need to keep in the forefront of their minds all the things that their men do for them, but men cannot hide behind that either. You can't just say, oh, I know I take care of her and I cater to her in here, but I'm never going to mow the lawn. I'm never going to flush the toilet. I'm never going to put the toilet seat down. I'm never going to do any of these things that I know full well take me 2 seconds to do and will make her happy. It's not a switch back and forth. I'm going to do these 10, but not these 5. We should be constantly working on being the best versions of ourselves for each other and ourselves.
And I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I think that, part of what you said is what we need to remember in the larger conversation of just men and, like, not even people that you're in a relationship with, but just talking about men and women, the opposite sex in general. I think you and I have had conversations about this off outside of the show, but just the idea that positive reinforcement works. Got to come back to that. Like children respond to it. Men and women aren't that different. We don't grow up and become that different. I think the reason that we're at each other's necks, men and women these days, is because the majority of the conversations are geared toward what we don't like. And it seems like all you ever hear is what you're not doing right on either side. What men don't like about women, what women don't like about men. We have these conversations ad nauseum, over and over again, repetitive. What you very rarely hear is what we love about each other, what we like about each other, what it is we want from each other. Maybe not even what we like about each other, but we will talk about what it is we're getting that we don't want, or what it is we hate, and we will never really have the conversation about what it is we would like to have. And I think there are so many people out there that want to be something to somebody. They want to be the man that you want them to be, but all we hear is what you don't want. We're trying to be what you want, but that's not what you're telling us. Like, tell us what it is you want. Tell us what it is you like. I'm telling, like, a little bit of positivity goes a long way. And if, like you said, the spoonful of sugar helps the medicine goes down. If you're talking to us on a regular basis about what you enjoy about a man or what you love about men, and then you have complaints, it's like, all right, maybe I can do something about that. But the way we talk to each other, men, talking to women. I'm not just making this a, all women do is bash men conversation. We do the same thing, but the way we talk to each other, it feels like, well, you don't like nothing about me.
Mm.
So no, I'm not trying to work on these 5 things that you just talked about. Because what's the point? You just gonna find 5 more things.
I agree.
It's like, let's talk to each other about what it is we love about each other, what it is we like about each
So
other.
maybe that's a
Anything.
boundary for you as well. Positive reinforcement. You can, and that's a great subject to broach when you're first dating someone. Do you believe in positive reinforcement? Do you understand that if I'm doing things that you like, that you love, that you desire, that make you feel good as a woman, do you understand the importance of letting me know that? Building me up, because I feel like men and women both, if you're praising us for doing something, we're going to keep wanting to do it. It's good to, yeah, it's good to hear that.
I tell people all the time it was the stupidest thing ever. But my mama, my whole life, told me I was the best microwave popcorn popper there was. And she could yell downstairs at 3 o'clock in the morning, Jared, pop me some popcorn. I'd be like, all right, I guess I'll go flex my microwave popcorn skills for you one more time. But she had me convinced I was good at it. Like, that's the power of positive reinforcement. Like, yeah, if you make us feel like we are important to you, we are what you want, then we may see that one blemish you bring up as, oh, I'm this close to being perfect. Let me fix that real quick. You know. But when it sounds like all we ever do is something wrong, you gonna give up. If you give people a problem with no solution for long enough, they get used to it. And I think that's what some of the conversation between women sounds like. It sounds like a problem with no solution. And people are just like, I will, forget it then. I'll just do me. So yeah, I think this is a good conversation. We need to have boundaries, but we also need to, what it is. Let me be the change that I want to see. What are some things I love about women, Black women, especially? Um, they're very, very nurturing, very supportive, warm people. When they to be loved by a Black woman is I don't know, indescribable. So to have someone love you and care for you in that way, and take care of you in that way, is just it's a beautiful thing. I mean, we know they're beautiful. Uh, they smell good. I'm a sucker for curly hair. Uh, there's so much about women that I like. It's almost hard to put into words. But I think we got to do that more often. It's just what it is that we want from women. We want respect, and there are a lot of women out there that do show that level of respect. And then I also think, for dudes, that we have to start. I heard this on another show that women feel like we treat the ones that treat us horribly the best, and we treat the ones that treat us the best horribly. And so that
Yes.
that is selling the message that if you want me to love you, you're supposed to treat me bad. You know. So if we want women to treat us a certain way, we got to start appreciating and respecting and loving those people back, so that the message that's received is that if you want love from me, then treat me this way. But that's not the message that we're sending if we dog out the ones that treat us the best. So I don't know. Everybody take some accountability and
Yes.
love on one another.
Yes. And have conversations like this, communicate openly. And maybe the conversation isn't one that you're going to have in a day. Maybe you break it down over multiple days to let feelings calm down, emotions chill out, clarity to be found when you're thinking individually, come back together and pick up the conversation. But the most important thing in the world is that men and women alike do not give up on being recognized and having your feelings seen and heard because you feel like you're not going to get anywhere with that person. You're not. You're not, because you're not allowing yourself to. So have that open communication. Talk about what you need, what you want, and what you desire. Understand that it's not okay to have too many boundaries. Everything cannot be a boundary, as well as everything cannot be a problem. Sometimes a person just talks a certain way. Sometimes their mannerisms are a certain way. And sometimes you just have to get to know that part of that person and adjust. If you can sit, and I will just say this, this is my biggest thought on this conversation that we had. If you were the person who does so many things that bother you, every single thing that they do bothers you, something about it, leave. I can never be with somebody who just kept nitpicking at me about everything. And every time I said something, they heard it in their own way, took it in their own way, and got pissed at me about it. It's annoying, and I've dealt with that before. And you have to try to find a way to go, okay, this is just how they are. Let me see if I can maneuver around this. But eventually the person's going to get tired. They really are. So you have to figure out what's really important and kind of find out where you're the problem in that. Where you're the one who is just like, I want everything my way. I refuse to understand why this person is seeing it this way. And I refuse to understand what small things really don't matter. Again, if it's such a problem, go find someone who is as perfect as you need them to be, clearly, and be with them. This is another great conversation.
That's all we do here. That's what we do. It's par for the course.
Mm,
Did you expect anything less?
I didn't. I didn't. There were some gems to be had in there though, but yeah, it's always fun. It's always fun. I can't wait to see what we come up with next.
Yeah, we just need somebody to post something else stupid so we can talk about it.
I have some stuff up my sleeve for next week. We'll see. But I do appreciate
She,
everyone out there who's watching, or not watching, listening to our conversations. I hope you're learning something. And if you know how to find us on any of our other platforms, feel free to chime in or maybe even drop a line on something you'd love to hear us discuss. All right, that's it for tonight. We'll have you guys listen to us next week.
y'all be easy, be safe, be light, all that good stuff.
Later.
Holla.